We're here in central London with the Profoto B10X. Now, I wanted to get my hands on this for a while because I've heard a lot of really good things about how powerful it is, and we're going to test it outside today, which is more exciting because currently a lot of the tests that people do are in studios. Now, the thing about this light in particular is that it's really powerful. It's got a lot of different settings you can use. We're going to be using it on TTL today just to try and sort of combat some of the challenges we're going to face with moving around central London. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it can do, because that is really what you're interested in. Now, first of all, it has 10 f-stops, 1 to 10. But the interesting thing about that is that it goes up, as you'd expect with a Profoto light, in decimal places. And so you can really hone in on how much light you want to give, literally so precisely that you cannot get it wrong in terms of your photographing. 10 is really powerful. We're going to show you a few examples of that in a little while. 1 is a lot dimmer, but if you put on a softbox and you're in a studio, you might want something that is a little more soft and artsy and beautiful. Another great thing about this product is that it's good for video and stills. So whilst today we're using a lot of the flash, you can also have it on continuous. And in comparison to the B10, it's about 30% brighter and more powerful. So that's going to do a lot of favors if you're filming outside. In terms of timing, you can shoot 400 shots on burst mode at full power, which is at 10. You can also use it for 65 minutes straight with the battery, which we're going to test out today. Usually that would be for video mode, but let's say you're in a studio and you're working on a time limit, that could also do you some favors. As always with Profoto, it's incredibly easy to use, so if you've never picked up a light before, you shouldn't have any trouble. This is your power button. You can adjust the strength here. You can also do it on the remote, which we've got with us today. As I said, we're using a Canon R5, so that's going to be really helpful for shooting flash on the go. And then you can adjust your color temperature here. It is worth remembering though that obviously if you're in TTL, it's fairly automatic, so you'd want to go into manual to do that. So today I'm using the OFC softbox from Profoto. We're only using the 2-inch one because truthfully it's probably going to be enough, but you can actually go really big with these. Obviously it's going to be more tricky if you're on the go and you're outside. So for that reason, I'm going to use this one and see how we get along. Got the R5, 24 to 70, although I might switch to the 100 just depending on how I feel about the shots and if I want to get some close-up portraits. Perfect. So actually that lighting is fantastic. It's really hitting one side of the face beautifully. It's giving us that sort of cartoon-esque appearance. So far I'm really loving this light actually. Considering how bright it is out here, I was not confident it was going to work at all. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it right down to some of the lower settings so you can see the dramatic difference that you get. Because if you're shooting somewhere in a studio, for example, you might not want to go full force with the light, or even if your style is a little bit softer. So currently I'm probably at 8.8. I'm going to go all the way down to, let's go for 1. So what you can actually see on screen is that makes quite a big difference in terms of darkness. Arguably the darker picture is probably a bit more dramatic, but for this I want something a bit more light and kind of beautiful, and I want the light to bounce off their face a bit more. Got some pigeon friends. So I think that's probably all for this location. I feel like I've gotten a few really good shots. I've really pushed this to its boundaries in terms of how bright it is here. And now what I want to go do is go somewhere a bit more industrial, a bit darker, a bit edgier, a bit more juxtaposition. Maybe not to test out the light exactly, but for me. So let's go and see how that goes. So we're going to test it out in Leadenhall Market with our model. It's actually quite a good test for 2 reasons. The first being that we haven't tried it out inside yet, which is going to be really interesting. And the second being that it's actually very portable and handheld. Now it is a little bit heavy, but if you think about a lot of the lights that you might use and the way you might use them, you can see that actually I'm able to hold it without a lot of hassle or effort at all. I am going to put the softbox on though, because I think in here it's going to be way too harsh without it. So I'll do that and then we'll get cracking. Okay, so it's still firing a bit too dark really for me at the moment, so I might now turn it off TTL because we've come inside and it is a little bit harder to shoot in that format. So these are really nice. I think you could definitely go for like 2 or 3 of these and really light everything to make it pop a lot more. But with this, what's happening is they're really standing out from the wall, which I love, because at the moment we're trying to focus on the dress, we're trying to focus on the model, so we're not that bothered about the derelict building behind us. So we've been out pretty much all day, although the weather hasn't really played into our hands very well. So it's been raining a lot of the day. But I've had an opportunity to test this out, and I have to say I really, really like it. We like a lot of different varied brands of lighting, so it's not that I'm particularly biased to Profoto, but I find you get that more cinematic look, the more cartoony feel with it. That's something that I personally find really enjoyable. Obviously you can soften it. I think that's a lot harder. Based on what I was doing today, you'd have to bring in some pretty heavy duty softboxes. You'd also have to bring in a lot of like reflectors, modifiers, just to try and sort of soften how powerful the light can be. It's really easy to use, which I found amazing, and the battery hasn't died. I brought 2 with me. I thought I'd really need to, but actually I've only used 1 all day. We've shot quite a lot. It would be really interesting to test it out for video because there's not a lot of flashlights on the market that are also amazing for video, and I'd be interested to see how this would work. That being said, everything else so far has been great. The one piece of feedback I would have about this that maybe didn't work for me personally is it is really heavy. So 1.5 kilograms after a while becomes kind of problematic. It fits in your bag, but if you're also carrying, like myself, an R5, 100 mil, 24 to 70, a 50 mil, you're going to end up in a situation where you're probably going to struggle to hold it up. That being said, all the pictures have been amazing. I've had a really amazing time using it, and we can't wait to see what it can do on other shoots that we go on. So would I recommend it? Yes. Is it pricey? Yes. Is it worth it? I mean, I'm going to have to lean towards yes. So thank you so much for joining us. I've had a really good time using it. I think it's been fantastic. Hopefully this has been somewhat helpful, vaguely. And we'll see you in the next video.